Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, Musqueam Elder Rose.
Yep. Good day to everyone. Aichka. Thank you. Yes, what a good day to join you this morning during your congregation ceremonies. I thank Kelly and the faculty of the University of Canada for the invitation to be here to welcome you to our territories, offer the opening prayer for their respect and their care for me, and their request to join you here today in a good way. My ancestral name is Anthea, given to me from my grandfather on my father's side. He is from the Cowichan First Nation located on Vancouver Island. My mother is from the Sartip First Nation located on the Saanich Peninsula, also located on Vancouver Island. Both my parents are Coast Salish. I am an elder to the Musqueam First Nation. I would like to take this time to welcome you to the traditional and ancestral territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nation. I also offer my respect to all the elders who have gone before us and to the First Nations and Métis people who are with us today. Please join me in prayer. Today I pray for everyone currently struggling. I pray that you feel Creator's comfort and peace. I pray that you are surrounded by His love, strength, and hope. Creator, as we prepare to conclude, we once again lift up our hearts. Our hearts praise you for your utmost wisdom in granting us solutions to the problems offered today. The source of all life, we thank you for the gifts of all the new friends and the people who have put our workshop, our ceremony here today. An understanding of mutual respect and shared wisdom. As we come to the end of our time together, Creator, we give thanks that you have allowed us to work together and serve you during this ceremony. We are grateful for the gifts of perseverance and insight into the common concerns we share for this and all other graces. We are thankful as we proceed to our task, as we fulfill our duties and responsibilities, as you have blessed our coming together. Please bless our journeys. Creator, you taught us to work together, to be kind. O Siem.
और करेंगे
Please join me in standing and singing the national anthem. Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true, no strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free, and oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Gentlemen, my name is Sheldon Levy. I'm the president of this wonderful university, University of Canada West. Chancellor Roper, Madam Board Chair, Madam Vice President Academic, Madam Executive Dean, Deans, Program Chairs, Honorary Doctorates, esteemed colleagues and representatives here on stage, and of course you, our graduates. Welcome to University of Canada's West Convocation 2022. Before I begin, I'll just say if you haven't put your phones to silent, it'd be a good idea. But don't put them off because there's lots of photos you'll want to take. But before I begin, I want to extend a special welcome to all the friends and family members who are here today to witness this important day. I know you've come and traveled from very far to be here, many of you. Today's graduating class is one of the largest we've ever had in our 18-year history at University of Canada West. Our students come from over 110 countries around the world. More than 200 languages are spoken on our campus. And no doubt, most of those languages will be spoken here today. In salutation, in joy, and acclaim of our graduates. And I think that's fantastic. It's what makes us special. That's you. So whether you traveled around the world or around the block, it's wonderful to have you with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, when your special graduate crosses the stage, full permission to hoot, holler, sigh, cheer, feel relieved, whatever you want to do, make it a special day for you, and don't hesitate to show your joy. That's all part of what convocation is about. We received many good wishes to our graduates today, and one came from the Honourable Hetty Fry, Member of Parliament. I thought I would just quote from her letter to me, which was to you. She wrote, "Today is a day of celebration, but also one of reflection. As you go forward from this experience and move on to new things, it is important to pause, to look back on what you have learned and really how far you have come in life's journey. While instruction from your professors ends today, your education, your careers, and life are only beginning. So that in itself is an exciting journey." This is truly an important day for all of our graduates, including our honorary doctorates who are here with us today. Phil Fontaine, being a central figure in Canadian life for the last 30 years. He served 3 terms as Chief of Canada's Assembly of First Nations, and he has been at the forefront of Canada's truth and reconciliation movement from the beginning. Kathleen Mahoney is a University of Calgary professor whose work on Indigenous rights and justice have reverberated throughout Canadian life. She was one of the architects of Canada's Truth and Reconciliation Committee. Individually and together, Phil and Kathleen have dedicated their careers to the betterment of Canadian Indigenous people and the betterment of Canada. Welcome, Phil and Kathleen. We are all looking forward to hearing from you later in the ceremony. Well, each of you graduates would not be here without a team of supporters. Supporters are in the crowd. They might be on the web looking at you. And probably many of them are amazed to see you here, but you've done it. And when I look out at you, what I really see is Canada. What I see is someone out there is going to be the next minister of, you name it. You'll be the leader of a company, and you will be helping to build a better Canada for all of us. So I want to welcome you all. I want to welcome your family, your friends, your parents, those online. You have persevered, you succeeded, and here you are today standing tall, all caps and gowns and smiles. What I would say is cherish this moment. I can tell you on behalf of everyone at UCW that we are very proud of you for what you've accomplished, and we congratulate you and we wish you every success in the future. Thank you.
Mr. Chancellor, on the recommendation of the Academic Council of the University of Canada West, I have the honor to present to you Phil Fontaine and Kathleen Mahoney, candidates for the degree Doctor of Laws. Mr. Chancellor, I am Jack Smith, a faculty member in Marketing, Strategy, and Entrepreneurship at the University of Canada West. And I have the honor today to introduce our two honorary degree candidates, Chief Phil Fontaine and Professor Kathleen Mahoney, who are widely regarded as leaders in Canada's movement to truth and reconciliation, to justice, and to human rights. Chief Fontaine has dedicated his life to furthering the rights and interests of his people and achieving truth and reconciliation for the massive human rights violations suffered for over 150 years by generations of First Nations peoples in Indian residential schools. Phil Fontaine was born at Sakin First Nation in Manitoba, one of 12 children raised by his widowed mother. He attended the Fort Alexander Indian Residential School for 8 years and the Assiniboia Residential School in Winnipeg for 2 years. He completed high school at Powerview Collegiate in 1961 and later graduated from the University of Manitoba with a Bachelor of Arts degree in Political Science. While in his 20s, Mr. Fontaine was elected Chief of the Sakin First Nation, serving 2 consecutive terms. As Chief of his community, he was the first leader in Canada to take over local control of education. To establish the first addictions treatment center on reserve, and one of the first to establish First Nation control of child welfare. He was next elected as Manitoba's Vice Chief for the Assembly of First Nations and subsequently Grand Chief of the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs, serving for 3 terms. As Grand Chief, he negotiated 37 employment equity agreements with private sector employers for Indigenous employees and was instrumental in the defeat of the Meech Lake Accord because of its failure to recognize or protect Indigenous rights. Chief Fontaine was responsible for the creation of a unique framework for self-government for First Nations in Manitoba and demonstrated what self-government looked like when he developed a relationship with the National Congress under Nelson Mandela and organized a diplomatic exchange between the 2 Indigenous governments. Phil Fontaine was the first leader to disclose the widespread abuse of students in residential schools on the national stage and demanded a national inquiry in 1991. His courage and leadership in making the disclosures prompted thousands of survivors to come forward with lawsuits that led to the negotiations and the ultimate adoption of the Indian Residential School Settlement Agreement in 2007. Phil Fontaine served as National Chief of the Assembly of First Nation for an unprecedented 3 terms, and it was under his guidance and leadership that the Indian Residential School Settlement Agreement became a reality. In 2009, he led a delegation to the Vatican where he met with Pope Benedict, who acknowledged the involvement of clergy in the residential school abuse of children and expressed deep regret and sorrow. Most recently, his long career of seeking justice for residential school survivors came full circle when he led a delegation of survivors to the Vatican to meet with Pope Francis to discuss reconciliation with the Catholic Church. The delegation shared their stories of survival and received a historic apology from Pope Francis for abuses in Canada's Church-run residential schools. Chief Fontaine has received numerous awards and honors over his incredibly successful and historically significant career. He is a member of the Order of Manitoba has received the National Aboriginal Achievement Award, the Equitas Human Rights Education Award, the Distinguished Leadership Award, the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Medal, and was made a member of the Order of Canada in 2012. He has received 18 honorary doctorate degrees. Our second candidate, Professor Kathleen Mahoney, is an internationally recognized human rights expert, judicial educator, and litigator who has spent her career seeking justice and equality for women and disadvantaged minorities through law. She was born and raised in Trail, British Columbia, and obtained law degrees from the University of British Columbia, the University of Cambridge, and the Institute of International Human Rights Law in Strasbourg, France. Her achievements include many firsts. She was a founder of the Women's Legal Education and Action Fund, litigating equality rights for women and minorities in the Supreme Court of Canada. She was senior counsel on the groundbreaking cases in Canada protecting racial minorities, the LGBTQ+, and women and children from hate speech. Her achievements include many firsts. She represented the National Indian and Inuit community health representatives in the first case involving Indigenous plaintiffs under the Canadian Human Rights Act, securing a multi-million-dollar settlement for discriminatory rates of pay compared to non-Indigenous health workers. While a member of the legal team that represented Bosnia-Herzegovina in their genocide action against Serbia in the International Court of Justice, her innovative work with Bosnian Muslim survivors of mass rapes resulted in the fundamental alteration of the definition of genocide in the Genocide Convention. Professor Mahoney is a leader in judicial education in Canada and abroad. She realized that human rights legislation and constitutional protection of rights would mean very little unless judges understood their own conscious or unconscious preconceptions, biases, and use of stereotypes in their decisions. While her work was controversial at the highest levels of the judiciary, she persisted and ultimately contributed to the establishment of the National Judicial Institute, a body that educates judges about stereotypes, myths, and biases, and the importance of understanding the social context of the people who appear before them. In addition to her legal practice and activism as a public intellectual, Professor Mahoney has a prolific publication record, having edited several books and written more than 40 peer-reviewed articles, blogs, and book chapters. Among her many awards and distinctions, she was granted the Queen's Counsel designation from the Law Society of Alberta, named a Trudeau Fellow, a Fulbright and Human Rights Fellow from Harvard, and an Alan Sewell Fellow. She is the Canadian co-chair of the Raoul Wallenberg Human Rights Centre, and she received distinguished service awards from both the Alberta and the Canadian Bar Association. She received the Governor General's Medal for her contribution to equality in Canada and was named a Fellow in the Royal Society of Canada, Canada's highest academic honor. She has been a professor of law at the University of Calgary for 42 years and held visiting professorships or fellowships at Harvard University, the University of Chicago, Adelaide University, University of Western Australia, Griffith University, the National University of Australia, and Ulster University in Northern Ireland. Bill Fontaine and Kathleen Mahoney worked side by side for several years on the Indian Residential School Settlement Agreement, the largest of its kind in Canadian history. The settlement agreement provided billions of dollars in compensation for individual survivors, long-term support for intergenerational survivors, healing and commemoration, the National Center for Truth and Reconciliation, and prompted the historic apologies by the Government of Canada and the Vatican. Professor Mahoney was the principal architect of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and served on the National Administration Committee, which oversaw the implementation of the settlement agreement from 2012 to 2022. Mr. Chancellor, in recognition of their many and significant contributions to justice, human rights, and truth and reconciliation, I ask you to confer upon Phil Fontaine and Kathleen Mahoney the degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa.
By the authority of the Academic Council of the University of Canada West, I admit each of you to the degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa. Congratulations.
Ang kilis, may orik.
I have the pleasure of Dr. Phil Fontaine and Dr. Kathleen Mahoney to give the convocation address.
Good morning, students. Congratulations. And also congratulations to the parents and grandparents, wives, husbands, partners, children, and teachers, and anyone else who has supported you so you could sit here on this great day. And I thank you, President Levy, the administration of UCW, for this great honor. Honors like this come about due to the support and love of many others. In my case, I especially owe a great debt of gratitude to my dear family, each of whom has played such an important role in my being honored here today, and particularly, of course, my husband, Phil Fontaine. Students, I have thought quite a bit about what to say today. I could say something like, today is the first day for the rest of your life, or maybe tomorrow, or the next day after that. But that's not important, nor even relevant. Instead, I am calling you to action, to ask you to move forward in ways that will make this fragile planet a safer and better place to live, and at the same time, contribute to you having a satisfying and meaningful journey through life. When I graduated from UBC back in the late 70s, the challenges to make the world a better place focused on rights. Women, queer communities, Indigenous peoples, and disability activists pushed for greater inclusion and equality in employment and educational opportunities. At the same time, the environmental movement started, especially so here in Vancouver with the founding of Greenpeace. I could reference the peace movement, the anti-nuclear movement, and others, but the point I want to make here is that it was young people, just like yourselves, that formed the backbone of these movements and created fundamental change. The challenges today are much more urgent and complex than they were in the 60s and the 70s. Global climate change, a rapidly declining trust in democracy, mass migrations, the worldwide health crisis, an epidemic of fake news, and the emergence of a